Alright, I'm Jack,
And I'm Alex.
and today we're going to be doing our review of Prototype.
This is such a sick game.
This game, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So the base of the game is you're an infected guy, and this virus an outbreak in, like, Manhattan, and the virus gave you kind of, like, superpowers, and you worked in this lab, and you were exposed to it. So now it's kind of like your story of how you're going around and you're trying to take revenge of all the people that, might have been responsible for this. And so you have all these crazy powers, and you can, like, consume people and become who they are, and, get your muscle mass going on and punch people into smithereens.
You got all your powers going on there, and if you're some kind of sick, twisted up dude, this game is a really good stress reliever. That was your math teacher right there. He gave you too much homework, and then there's your English teacher. You just throw across the street in a bloody mass. A couple cars. The storyline can be a little confusing sometimes, but like me, I just skip through all the movies, little cinematic parts, but it was still a very entertaining game. You got tentacles you can shoot out of your back because, who doesn't like to do that? But one of our favorite hobbies of this game would have to be throwing people at, flying objects. It is the best part, hands down. We got a little zombie here. He's kind of squirming around. We don't like him too much, so we're just going to see all this little sensor flying above us, and, he's going to go flying. Little puff of smoke as he, vaporizes.
And you know what? Even if you miss, it's alright, because it's pretty much just as entertaining. So you see a helicopter going by, you're like, hey, you know what? I'll try to hit it. But if I miss, it's alright. I just threw that guy completely across the city. Hopefully you guys can see that on YouTube, but he pretty much just hit that tall building way down over there.
So this game brings endless possibilities, and the city changes. It's the whole island of Manhattan. And if you're in the infected zone next to a hive, which is where that's a hive on your right there, the city's pretty dark and gruesome, and there's a lot of fighting going on, and there's some monsters running around, some infected people, a lot of zombies. And but if you're towards the military base, things look a little more normal. You're in the blue zone, which no infected, and things are pretty okay. But this is pretty. They just vaporize in a cloud of blood when you throw people at the helicopters.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool too. Like at the beginning of the game, when the infection is like first in the the first stages of the outbreak, Manhattan looks just like it would normally, and there's not zombies running all around. But as you do the missions, it starts to like count down the days of the infection. It's like the whole island starts changing, and you have like a map, and it shows you zones that are infected and zones that are like military occupied, and it just completely changes throughout the whole thing. Another really cool aspect of this game is your ability to hijack vehicles. So if you see like a tank or a helicopter driving around and you're like, hey, I want to get in that thing, you just go up to it and you press the B button, and they'll start a whole hijacking phase. And then like if you land on a helicopter and you don't land on the cockpit, you have to hit a series of buttons, so then you end up, so you're right at the cockpit, and then you have the little button mash the Y thing, and then you'll get in the helicopter, and then you can switch weapons once you're in there. Like you have different kinds of missiles. You have homing missiles, and then you have automatic missiles that don't track, and then you have the cannon on the front that you can use to take out other helicopters and stuff.
It's a very efficient way of getting big enemies out of your way. Some of the enemies you actually see, there's the military, which got super soldiers, which are a bitch to kill, but then you got helicopters and tanks, which always blow you up with missiles. The most annoying part about that is if you're running around with someone trying to eat them, and then you get hit by a missile, you drop them, you can't get them back, and that's not fun. But on the affected side, the most common person or enemy you'll see is the hunter. The hunters at first are really annoying, but as the game goes on, they kind of levels the playing field, and you can eat them more often, and when you consume them, you get a bunch of health. And when you get enough health, it goes into something called critical mass. Your health bar at the very tip becomes blue, and this is when you can use those huge attacks like we showed you earlier with the tentacles going everywhere, and those are really efficient at killing like even the biggest of enemies.
Alright, you'll see right here it says Strike Team Destroyed. So what happens when you're running around and the military finds you, your code name is Zeus, because you were originally a military project, and then you ended up with all these superpowers, so obviously they're not very happy about that. So they try to send out teams that try and kill you, and these are the strike teams. So you either have to evade those or you have to kill them. So to kill them, obviously you just go and use all your superpowers to take down the helicopters, or hijack them, or hijack a tank and then kill the helicopters. Or what you can do is you can fly, because you can run super fast and you can use like your gliding powers. So you can either run or glide to a place where they can't see you, and then you can disguise yourself. Because all these people that you consume, you actually have every single one of them inside you. So what you do is once you're out of sight or whatever, you just go to your disguise menu and you just pick the last person that you consumed, and then you'll just look like an average citizen that was walking down the street a second ago.
And every time you either evade or destroy the strike teams, or kill an enemy or whatever, you get something called EP. EP is evolutionary points, and with those you can unlock new powers and stuff, such as the big ass sword on your hand, or you can run faster and stuff like that. You get new moves to throw people around, like the pile driver we did at the very beginning of the video, and it just adds a whole new point of the game. So you're not just stuck with the same thing and going along in the game with the same powers the whole time. You can choose how you spend your points and all that.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that you can play through the game. It's like, me and Alex would be talking. It's like, oh, cool, how'd you beat that boss or whatever? And it's like, oh yeah, I used this, and I went around, I was eating the military people, and then using one of my critical mass things to defeat him. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I was going behind him, and then I'd use this attack, and then get him stunned, and then I'd jump on him. It's an endless amount of possibilities that you can use to beat the game. Like, we showed earlier there was kind of a more stealthy approach where you could, run around and hop over all the cars and fly over everyone, or you can just bust out your armor and literally just run through the whole town. There's so many ways that you can do everything in the game. There's no one specific way that you have to go, and I'm usually not a fan of those games where it's kind of like really open-ended, like, the RPG games where it's like, okay, yeah, you can pick the order and stuff. But this game, it did it really nicely because, you know what you have to do. It's not like you're running around, like, pointless. You know what you have to do, but you can do it any way you want it. And it's not frustrating, like, you can do it any way you want it, but there's really only one way that's efficient or that's actually really possible. There is an infinite amount of ways where everything actually works and fits together, and it's still fun.
All right, right before it ends here, this is body surfing, our second most favorite hobby. Getting around running is kind of boring sometimes, but why not hop on a person once or twice? That's a good way to get around.
All right, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.